Hi, this is Herb Kim, the founder and director of Thinky Digital. I'm joined now by Doug Jones, who is the Community Engagement Manager for the Northeast of England, working for Tech North, which is also part of Tech City UK. So Doug, first off, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
It's great to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah. So obviously you're part of an organization called Tech North. Not everyone will necessarily have heard about it, sort of thing. But I think let's even start a bit more meta than that, which is around the tech scene in the North. I've been around working in and around Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester for 15 odd years now. I certainly have my experiences. But I mean, do you guys, from your perspective, see evidence that the tech scene really is growing and taking off?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so just to reiterate, I've only been in Newcastle now since 2013,
Okay.
so I can only speak of my experience here.
Yeah.
But from my observation, you have the likes of Adam Bank from Durham,
Okay.
Zero Light that's based here, and looking at the activities and the scale of how they're growing and getting nationwide traction. Obviously Adam Bank has just appointed Wyclef John as
No, Will I Am.
Will I Am, yes, that's right. I always get them confused. They kind of almost look similar. But yes, Will I Am being appointed on the board of Adam Bank, which is
Yeah.
great. I think it's quite appealing to have young people kind of recognize Adam Bank as the UK's only digital high street bank, so that's great. But then Performance Horizon, which is next door to us, and what they're doing, which is great. So I think it's great for the North.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, certainly. I mean, one of the things that I see is that, I mean, when I first came to the North, there was most of the conversations were about how do we create jobs in companies, how do we get finance and opportunities, and now it's rarely about those things and much more about help me find the people so that I can service this gushing inflow of opportunity. I mean, are those conversations that are familiar to you?
Absolutely. I mean, so with Tech North, we have two programs, or two of our most popular programs, Founders Network and Northern Stars. As you know, with Founders Network, which is a 6-month program aimed at early stage to mid-stage tech founders, in which they're able to kind of provide some of the biggest pain points that they're having in growing their business. But then, of course, you have Northern Stars, which is our pan-regional pitch competition, which helps us identify some of the top or fastest growing tech companies in the north of England. So those two activities alone is great for us, but then there are other initiatives that we're working on as well.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, since we're talking about Tech North, I mean, I guess, what is, its mission? I mean, how is it making an impact on
Yeah,
the city?
so Tech North is a government-backed initiative tasked with accelerating the growth of digital businesses across the north of England.
Okay.
And we focus on 5 key areas. Founders, we focus on people and skills, investment, profile raising, and sustainability.
Okay, fantastic. Great. And I guess, are you seeing evidence of impact with any that you mentioned, Founders Network and Northern Stars? Are they working, and so how?
Oh, of course. I mean, so we've just published 2 reports recently, which is the Tech North League Table, which helps us identify the fastest growing companies, but also the Tech North Investment Index, which I don't know if you know, but last year 327 million pounds were invested in northern tech companies in 2016, which is phenomenal. And I can only imagine that will increase in the years ahead.
Okay. So that's, when you talk about that investment, is that primarily sort of early stage for?
Early stage.
Okay, great.
Early stage to late stage.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, good. So tell us a little bit about you. Obviously, I'm guessing by your accent, you're American, and and if I remember correctly, you actually spent a number of years working for the State Department in Washington D.C. Literally, kind of with some of the top people there, John Kerry, Hillary Rodham Clinton. And if I understand, actually, oftentimes handling some of the most sensitive communications and negotiations and things like that. So, tell us a little bit about that, and then your journey to Newcastle and what keeps you here.
Yeah, well, obviously living in Germany or growing up in Germany, I had political aspirations. And
Why would living in Germany lead to political aspirations?
Well, long story short, my father didn't allow me to watch cartoons when I was younger.
Right.
And
now, you come from a military family, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Discipline was there from the beginning, huh?
Yeah, it was quite there. So growing up watching CNN was kind of like my cartoons, if you will.
Okay.
And so understanding the politics and understanding the dynamic of certain events, current events, which kind of helped me pave my career, at least early on.
Okay.
So in 2009, when I finished my undergraduate in politics, I got my first role at the State Department,
Okay.
managing Hillary Clinton's correspondence and records. And
Wow.
obviously,
Oh,
due to the sensitivity of what's happening right now, there's not much I can say about that. But whilst I was in university, I did my placement in London, specifically in Parliament. And so I had the chance to visit Newcastle back in 2006,
Okay.
which was a World Cup year.
Okay.
And they always say it's not the city that makes the people, but it's the people that make the city. And I was really, really captivated by the Geordies and the locals here. And I said, you know what, I need to come back.
Wow.
And after I left John Kerry's administration in 2013, I came here and did my master's. And so, if it wasn't for Hillary Clinton's loss, perhaps I could have gone back to the White House. But
Yeah, well, no, you were mentioning that there was a quite high potential that you would have expected a call from HRC or maybe an email
absolutely,
to do that. So I guess her loss is our gain.
yeah.
And then I guess how are you finding? I mean, like what kind of? I mean, are you here for the foreseeable future or?
Yeah, so I'm actually a recipient of the Tech Nation visa scheme.
Right, of course,
Tech North is part of Tech City UK, is recognized as a designated competent body which awards or endorses potential individuals who are able to kind of contribute to the digital economy in the UK.
Okay.
So as a recipient of the Tech Nation visa scheme, it allows me to stay in the UK and contribute. So I'm here for the next several years, and then of course, around the next general election, not this one coming up, I'll be able to apply for my indefinite leave.
Okay, cool, fantastic. Now, one of the things that I've noticed in my time, I've been 15 years in the North now, and we're both minority Americans. Right? That's how we don't. Bizarrely, when you're in America, you're reminded that you're a minority all the time. not out of nastiness, but that's just often how you describe it. Whereas here, I actually don't think of myself that way. And one of the things that I feel, particularly in the North, because I spent a bunch of years in other parts of the UK, is that. In that entire time, I always felt entirely welcome, if you will, and not because people go around the way, say, but just simply that I was just another face in the crowd to some extent. And have you felt a similar kind of, in ease in terms of living here?
Oh, certainly. For me, I think it's for one, the cost of living is really, really low. So obviously, the people make me feel quite friendly here. As community engagement, I thought that perhaps there could have been some barriers. If anything, it was maybe a barrier of the accents.
Okay.
It took me quite some time to understand the locals here. But more importantly, I think that the folks here are very friendly, very warming. And I think looking ahead, I think the potential for Newcastle and the Northeast in general to kind of be that shining beacon is quite great. Last week I was in London and took part in a workshop at the Zoopla offices, and some of the investors were saying that Newcastle actually is a place that they're looking at in terms of investment. So I think that's a really great thing for Newcastle and the Northeast to kind of stand up on.
Oh, well, a very positive note to end on.
Yeah.
Doug Jones, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Cheers.
Great
Thank
to see
you. Thank you.
That was Doug Jones of Tech North. Thanks so much for joining us.